All right.
We're up and going. Welcome to our Couples Cocktails, our weekly get-together. Actually, we get together more than weekly with a drink. Today, we've got some special guests, Dave and Jessica. Thanks for joining us. And we're just going to jump right in. First of all, thank you guys very much for hopping on with us. And I understand you just celebrated an anniversary.
1 year.
Yep.
Yeah.
Big 1 year.
1 year. We're going to talk about the 1 year in a little bit. But how was the celebration? Did you have a nice anniversary as much as you
We
could?
did.
Good.
Yeah, we did.
We
Yeah.
went out to dinner, didn't we?
Went to dinner, yeah.
Very nice.
Wow.
Well, cheers to
Some
you.
crabs
No
and-
kids. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Good. That's
Perfect.
great. Good.
So both of you folks have been married before,
Yes.
and you each have children from your prior relationship.
Yeah, we have children, that's for sure.
Yes, yes.
So, yeah,
Good.
go ahead. So Dave, I know we've known you for a long while. So I know you have triplets, which is, man, that's a handful in itself. So can you tell us like how old they are now and a little bit about them, what they're doing and all that jazz?
22. Let's see, they're 22 years of age. Two are living here in town in Bethesda, and another one's living in New York City. They all have jobs, which
That's
is
a good-
good.
That's
and
amazing.
That's perfect.
two have finished GW last year, the spring COVID graduation.
Yeah.
And the other one finished, one finished actually in December, one GW. And then another one finished in Indiana in the spring with another COVID graduation.
Gotcha. And Jessica, what
All
about
on Zoom.
what's that?
My daughter Jordan is 15. She's a freshman at RM, and my son Noah is 7th grade, and he's 12.
Excellent. So how many of all of these kids are, I know the one in New York, your daughter in New York isn't there, obviously, Dave, but how many of these of the groups, I don't want to go too far into the Brady Bunch, but how many of the group are living with y'all?
None.
Well,
yeah,
no,
it's true.
just my two, 50% of the time. And actually, Casey, who's in New York, she moved back about 2 months ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
She moved back. Oh, she moved back to New York.
Because I think Dave said that. Yeah, she moved back.
Back to New York.
Yeah, to New
Okay.
York.
Yeah.
Yes.
Excellent.
So you have two in the home 50% of the time. So you do get
Right.
some of your own like empty nest time.
Yes,
But the others pop in. You never know.
you
Like,
never
one-
know.
One popped in
Yeah,
this
lock the
afternoon,
door
just out of
anyway,
the blue,
right?
just walked in the door. It's
Yeah.
all right. They're always welcome.
Lisa, how long were you,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Jessica, how long were you single before you guys got together?
Not that long.
Like 6 or 7 months from
Okay.
the time I separated.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're separated and then divorced.
Correct.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And Dave, you were married before to Lisa, who David
Yes.
just called.
Jumped ahead in my
Yeah.
questions. I
He wrote
apologize.
down some names and he called Jessica Lisa. So let me just ask you a
Oh,
question.
I didn't
Does
even catch that.
I totally got it. Please don't call
Does
Lisa
that-
getting sex.
Does that
was
ever happen?
bad.
Does that ever happen in the
No, that's
relationship?
never happened. No, not at all.
Huh, interesting. So David was the one that did the mix up, not
Dad was-
not Dave.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm bad with names
As long as
anyway.
he's not mixing it up with you, that's a big.
You never know.
Yeah, that could be a
That's
problem.
a discussion for another time.
Yeah.
So Dave, your first wife was Lisa. I'll get
This is correct.
and Lisa passed away.
Yes, coming up on Gushka. What are we coming up on? Coming up on a while ago. I'm starting to even forget the time, which is pretty amazing. So coming up on 14 years.
Oh boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And I because David asked me how long it's been, and in like just like you did, the time sort of like got away from me, and I was like, well, I know it's been like at least 10 years, but
Yeah.
I couldn't really like figure out how long it had been. So when you say it's been 14 years, what do you think about that? Like what's kind of going on in your brain?
Good question.
She-
Sends chills up my body when I hear that, actually. to be
Yeah.
honest with you, yeah. I don't forget about it. And that's the beautiful thing of Jessica, is that I'm allowed to not forget about it. That's a
Yeah.
hard thing to say, not to allow, because I'm able to still celebrate her in many ways.
Mhm.
So we still do.
Yeah.
So, but
And I'm allowed to like shed a little tears. It's all right. It's
Yeah.
it's totally acceptable with Jessica here. She's totally embracing of it. And so we do things like that, and
Very nice. Now
it's
you,
really important that I'm always there and celebrate Lisa. Just
and
Yeah.
you were raising your kids then on your own for that.
they were 7 years of age when she passed.
Yeah.
So
So
it
it's
was
like
you,
14
it
and
was
a half
you and
years.
those three girls. I imagine you developed, well, you probably a great relationship anyway, but some really significant ties to your three daughters.
Yeah, I think so. I think I firmly believe it would have been the same way whether Lisa was here or not. You know, you have to change diapers when you have three of them. You have to dive right in. It's not just one person doing it. So, you know, I was that person that just dove right in and did everything and ran here and ran there. So it was no different for me. The initial problem is I had to be a nurse. You know, I had to be the guy that changed the catheter tube, gave the make sure the jejunum tube was cut clean, all the not so fun stuff. But you know, you do that stuff, and it is what it is.
And how long was Lisa sick?
Almost 4 years, just shy of 4 years. Stage 4 colon cancer was the initial diagnosis. So she passed about a month away from, I think, our 20th, when we first got together, 20 years. And we were married about 14. So
Yeah. And what, you know, you wrote me we were corresponding on Facebook Messenger, and one of the things that really hit me, which you shared, which was, you know, I just celebrated an anniversary with Jessica, 1 year anniversary, but my 28th wedding anniversary with Lisa had also come up, you know, as well. And nobody sort of acknowledged that. And I think that was, for me, my heart just like, you know,
well,
just
no one acknowledges it because no one's going to pick up the phone and call. Maybe your kids, my kids did towards the end of the day, your parents, I think they all struggle with how to handle that. So you get to a certain point where you get to 28 years and people just don't pick up that phone and call. And that's, I guess it finally hit me after all the years, no one's picked up the phone to call. And that was like I don't know what, like 20 years, it's not as significant. It's not a 25, it's not a 30, but it's a significant moment to me. So
Yeah.
no one picked up the phone, and I understand, but it just was kind of like, it hit me a little weird.
Yeah. So did you share that with Jessica? Like, today is so you know Jessica.
I didn't know until the day. I'm pretty sure he told me that day, and it was not a good day, just all around. It was kind of a weird day.
Yeah,
And then he realized, like, oh, it must, you know, this is weighing on me today. I don't think I realized how much it was weighing on me. Because, you know, it's such a monumental, I mean, wedding anniversaries are a big deal, and to celebrate without her, why shouldn't he still celebrate it? You know, she might not be here, but if it weren't for Lisa, the girls wouldn't be here, and he wouldn't have had the experiences that he had. So like he said, I mean, I have no issue celebrating any of that stuff with him.
Yeah.
So can I just back up a little bit and ask a couple questions? How long were you guys seeing each other before you started to realize that this was something serious? And layered in that, Dave, also is how did that make you feel? It's a two-parter. I'm a lawyer. I get to ask.
They're totally
Yeah,
two
but-
different parts, though.
Feel in what way? Like,
How did when you started to, first of all, roughly how far into your seeing each other was it? And then once you started to have those feelings, was there any pullback because of your feelings that remained for Lisa and all of that?
oh, that's a good question. That's
See?
almost like a therapist question.
Yeah.
You're
If you let me
taking my
talk some, then
role.
I can
Taking
ask.
your job. Can I answer the
I
part of
think you
it?
should answer
I'm going to
that
answer
one.
part of it.
Yeah,
So David will tell you, because I've asked him, that he knew how he felt about me when we first met, right? Which was 7 months before we actually started dating. You said you knew when you met me that you saw something in me, right?
True, but I
Okay.
still never met the girl you were trying to
Okay,
fix me
all
up
right.
with.
Anyway, yes, I was going to fix him up with somebody. I was still married when I met David, but I was going to fix him up with somebody because I heard his story. And
Still haven't met the girl.
No,
though.
I
That's
know,
the weird
I know.
part.
there's a reason for that. But when we did start dating, David will tell you he knew immediately when we started dating. And I would say probably 3 weeks in. I think I told you I loved you 3 weeks in. I know where we were.
I know where we were too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's pretty awesome because you guys aren't, none of us are 19 anymore. So that's pretty neat.
And I'm 9 years younger than David. So,
You can tell that looking at you. You're much younger than me.
but that was an interesting experience for both. I would not have gone out with him if I had known that he was 50 when I met
Oh,
him.
really?
No, but when I met him, when we went out for the first time, it was very natural and just seemed like we had known each other for a long time. That's how I felt.
Very neat. What did you do that for? What did you do? What was that
For our
first?
first, I actually kind of asked him out for our first date. We just went to a restaurant and sat at the bar and talked
Nice.
for a long time and then came back here and hung out.
Very nice.
Nice.
We might have made out for a long time.
I mean,
too,
that
so
too.
it's-
Nice, that's good.
So there was
Works for me.
there was a couple different connections. There was an emotional connection and then a attraction connection.
This is-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
So-
is what part of what I like to talk about.
Yeah,
She knows.
yeah. So Dave, asking you the same question, you met Jessica, you kind of saw something, and how did you feel about, being interested in her and what that was like for you?
I don't, it's a good question. I don't know if I have a really great answer or not a great answer, but I don't even know if I have an answer. I mean, I knew fairly right off the bat, but I had been in a couple of relationships prior to Jessica, and they were I don't know what's long-term mean? What's long-term?
More than a few
Means-
dates. More than a
What's
few
that?
dates. More than a
More
few
than a
dates.
date?
Yeah.
Oh, then he had many relationships before me.
But I had a few term relationships along the way. So I don't know if I wasn't looking for necessarily another relationship. I wasn't looking for a relationship. I was looking somebody that I got along with and I was attracted to, obviously, and I got along with, more importantly. And the deal breaker wasn't, and a lot of people would like to think this, the deal breaker was never, will they get along with my girls? Do my girls make the decision, yay or nay? And that was a standard rule for me, never to let that happen, because it had to be me. It had to come from here. And I knew pretty much right off the bat, within the first couple of weeks, Jessica was just had me right here, right in my heart. And so
Let's talk about your girls and that part of your relationship, right? So at whatever point there was, I presume that and each of you too, Jessica, you decided, now I want you to meet my kids, right?
I think everybody struggles with that, but it depends on the age of the kids
Right.
and how you're going to introduce them.
Sure.
My kids were pretty used to meeting some girl I was dating, and I never hid it from them. So it was kind of.
Okay. So you were kind of upfront with.
But there came a time, I assume, right, that and I'm asking you the same question, Jessica. There came a time, I assume, Dave, that you felt something different about Jessica that maybe you felt about these other, I'll call them interim relationships after Lisa, but before Jessica, right? So at that point, whenever that was, right, you wanted to introduce her to your children, to your girls, and they're older, obviously, sure, but.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember the time that I did introduce them to Jessica.
I think it was at the Cody.
No, that was Jordan.
Oh, okay.
It was Jessica's daughter, where we kind of had everybody get together, meet the girls. Actually, it was more important than Jordan and the girls meeting.
Yeah,
I
don't remember the first
Yeah, I
time
don't
I met
remember
the
either.
girls. Only the first time I met one of them, because she had been at camp all summer, so I do remember that. But we, my kids didn't meet David, and well, my daughter met David probably maybe 6 months in, but she didn't know that he was like my boyfriend, because I didn't date anyone. I mean, I'd gone on dates, but I didn't have a relationship from the time I got separated until I met David. I just dated a little bit. So he was the first and the last man that I've ever dated since my last marriage. And you will be my last marriage.
Oh, good. That's what we want to hear.
Right? Not my second, but my last. And so for me, it was a little bit more challenging because my kids were so young. They were 4 and 6. Now, my daughter, who's now 15, she fell in love with David. She didn't know who he was. She just knew he was my friend. My son struggled with it a lot. Because
How old was your son at the time?
My son now is 12, but he was probably 4 or 5 at the time.
Yeah.
And I think he felt like he was cheating on his dad. He didn't really know what to do with his feelings.
Yeah.
You know, at that age, you don't really know. I do not remember the first time they met, though, and I don't think you do either. First time you met Noah, but the first time he met Jordan, we know.
Is that bad? We don't know that?
Yeah.
No, it might be a good thing, maybe.
No, we're not, there's no judgment
No,
here.
no judgment, but but sometimes you might half expect to hear something, something difficult that occurred, right? Which would make you remember it. But
Yeah.
this clearly
No, I think
was
that's
more of a
good. It
benign-
sounds like it was an easy transition.
I will say the first time my son ever hugged David and he even was at our wedding. He just had this thing about like, and they have a really nice relationship. I mean, a really nice relationship. All the kids, I mean, they really have a nice relationship.
That's great. And can I ask about your ex-husband? Is he around? Is he?
Yeah, he lives about 2 miles away, and he has the kids half the time, and I have the kids half the time. So, yeah.
Dave, were the girls at all protective of you when they recognized or knew that this was something that was serious for
They
you?
wouldn't ever say. I mean, I had a prior relationship where they did not like the woman I was dating, but they wouldn't say anything about it. I don't know why. I'd never asked them that question of why that was, but they're not the kind of kids that say, we disagree, Dad, we don't like her. They would never do that. I don't have
I
a
know
reason
why.
why.
I know
Why?
why. Well,
Why?
you just told us why.
Tell me why.
Well, in the very beginning of us talking about this, you said, I wanted to make sure the girls never let me, never made the decision. This was going to be me that makes a decision about the relationship. So you set up the expectations that it was you that makes the decision and not them. And you probably told them either, told them or didn't tell them, but they knew that that's how it was going to roll. So that's why.
She's a lot.
I don't know if I ever told them that though, that was.
It doesn't matter.
They knew.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to make you my therapist right now. Okay. Get on with it.
I try to do that a lot too.
No, but seriously, that it's very telling, and I think it's really cool because they were respecting that, like, you're going to make the decision, and this is about you and not about them. And you set that up probably from the very beginning when you started to date, and so it just was the way it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
I figured out. So you can. I'll send you my bill.
No problem.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because they don't look at, it's hard to say how they look at, they don't look at Jessica as a mom, but they do look at her as a stepmom, and they do confide in her in a lot of things that they don't come to me with. Like I found out one was dating somebody the other day because she had told Jessica.
I know it.
Perfect. And that's, it's a girl code. That's okay.
So, which is fine. I don't have a problem with it. It was interesting that they have somebody they can rely on in another way now, which is kind of nice. And flip side, the going the other way, Noah, Jessica's son, well, we had this dinner, I don't know, about a month ago, and with Jessica's ex-husband, Jessica and her 2 kids, and myself, and they asked Noah, like, they're only going to allow one parent at the soccer game that he plays in. What parent do you want to come? And he clearly answered, David.
Because soccer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because him and I get along like that. So, and his parents are just sitting there like, are you freaking kidding me?
I can deal, but I felt kind of badly for my ex, because I was like, wow. And I even was like, Noah, you can't say that, but David's a soccer guy. So it made perfect sense in his head.
But so here we have something different, but he can rely on me. So we all have unique relationships with our kids and with our stepkids. And
I think that's nice.
This is great.
Yeah.
I think that's nice.
You mentioned when we started talking about the anniversary and it being your first and you and Lisa's 28th. So to sort of follow up on that a little bit, how, if at all, has Lisa, her life, her part in your life affected the 2 of you in terms of your relationship, if at all?
I'm going to answer this.
Go for it.
Okay.
It
really hasn't, but I will say that David had shared with me that in past relationships, his girlfriends, friends, whatever you want to call them, really struggled with her. And my feeling is that I never knew Lisa. I will never know her. And how can why would I ever be threatened by somebody that isn't a part of my life? But in some ways, she really is part of my life because of her, we're sitting here.
Mhm.
And so I think that that's been an interesting, so for celebrating her, for me, I feel like it's a gift to David, and it's also a gift to the girls, because I want to be as, what's the word I'm looking for? I want to be sensitive to it. In fact, I've said to David, I said it to him recently, they usually go down to the hospital where Lisa where Lisa was treated, and they visit the nurse who happens to be a client of mine now, just randomly. And I said to David, it's a shame you're not going. I'd love to go with you. But I said, you know what? It's not really right for me to go. There's certain things that they do that I don't, and he and the girl, especially David, always says, you can come if you want to come. But I never want them to ever feel like her name can't be brought up. I mean, I have no control over,
You said that that day.
I'm going to let the dog that's barking in so he doesn't bark
You
anymore.
said that day was a bad day, right?
The anniversary.
The anniversry piece. So,
Okay.
It wasn't a bad day. It was just it was just kind of
Jessica said it was a bad day. I don't mean
it was
to.
a bad day.
Wait.
It didn't have to do with her. You had some work stuff that day. It was
we
a
had some other stuff.
family stuff.
Unrelated stuff.
Other stuff that struggled along. So it wasn't a bad day. It was just another day. It was just a couple things getting in your way. And it depends on how you look at it and how you move forward. I would say that the only thing you can ever do in life is wake up in the morning, put your feet on the ground and go. Because it doesn't matter what happened yesterday. Who gives a shit? Just wake up and go.
So
I don't look at it as a bad day, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have a question. David, what do you think in your first relationship with Lisa helped or changed the way you think about a second relationship? I'm just curious, in that way.
These are great questions.
know,
Thank you for
that's a
asking them,
good
because I actually enjoy talking about it. So, and Jessica knows me well enough that I enjoy talking about this. So, Lisa was Irish Catholic, and she was tough as nails. And so it wasn't a fight, but everything was, you had to be hard nosed to deal with pretty much everything. I don't know if that's the right. I guess what I learned is that I kind of, and I think it's more to do with her passing, that I look at things differently. One of the important things that she stressed to me was, please don't you hear a lot of people say this, but she stressed this, not on her deathbed, but she knew that where she was going, that don't sweat the small stuff. And those little words always creep into my head. I try not to sweat the small stuff and enjoy everything in life. And I think her death actually kind of flipped me on how I view things and how I stay a little calmer now.
I thought I did that for you.
Well,
Wow. Yeah. So, yeah.
So I guess I stay a little calmer. So it's really that kind of affected me in that way. It wasn't just so much about the relationship, it was more or less about the someone going through death.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I would, that's sort of what I was like thinking about, when you go through something really hard with somebody like you did, it has to change you. It just has to. And the way that you look at things changes. And that, I'm sure, comes into the relationship with Jessica.
It definitely does. You definitely look at things a little differently. That's why I said you wake up in the morning and you put your feet on the ground and go, and you can't change stuff from the previous days because it doesn't do you any good.
Yeah.
So I stick to a couple mantras, I guess, and that's what my thing is, and that's what I've learned.
Yeah. And do you worry at all about, Jessica's health? Like, do you?
All the time.
Yeah. How does that play into things for?
I think everybody really does, but especially if you've gone through a major crisis like I did.
Mm-hmm.
So you are going to say stuff, and I kind of say my piece about it and I leave it be. And then I might say about it again, go have your colonoscopy. That's a big thing with me. In fact, I just had one of her friends go get her colonoscopy because I just kept badgering her about it.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Uh,
So
my colon cancer. So
Jessica, you're not 50.
you don't have to be 50 to get a
No, but
colonoscopy.
I'm gonna do it. I
You
know
don't
I
have to
keep
get
saying,
50 to have a colonoscopy, just
No.
FYI.
Okay, so, but
Like they're recommending younger now.
okay, so what are they recommending?
45, but there's no reason you can't have it at 40. There's no reason you can't have it at 35.
Okay,
You know, it's a preemptive strike.
Yeah.
okay.
Have
So-
you all had your colonoscopies?
Yeah, I actually went on my 50th birthday.
Yeah.
I actually was
for
like,
one.
I'm going on my 50th birthday. I was told 50. So.
Yeah, sorry to bring that subject up, but it's always, obviously close to my heart.
No,
for sure.
listen, I think it's great. You're advocating for something that is important to you. So that's great. So Jessica, how does that piece affect you, or does it affect you? Like, do you know that Dave worries about your health like a little bit more than somebody else might?
yeah, I know that he worries about my health. But I'm a pretty healthy person because of how I take care of myself. And I'm very blessed and lucky that my family has very, very long. I mean, my grandparents lived well into their 90s, and my parents are incredibly healthy, knock on wood. So I don't worry about my health at all. I mean, he worries just because, you don't want to lose a loved one. I have not experienced that, fortunately, and David has. So I respect how he feels. I mean, I'm not running during COVID to get a colonoscopy, but I will. I keep promising. I haven't done it yet. I promise I will do it.
Yeah. Actually, my brother-in-law is a gastroenterologist, and they're very careful, and they test people for COVID before they come. And so they're up and running, and
Yeah.
there's no reason not to go.
I know.
Yeah.
All right, so can we shift to what I like to talk about
Sure.
for just a second? so let's just, again, and this could be way out of left field, and if it may have no relevance at all, and that's fine. But is there any, in terms of your intimate relationship, Dave, I'll turn this to you first. Any time that you worry that you're not treating Jessica in the way she wants to be, you're doing what Lisa wanted you to do. And again, I don't want to be too graphic about it, but I was curious about this because I'm always curious about sex generally.
Always, every day.
Oh, there's my dog again. But yeah, is there any of that kind of, Lisa like this, but and I don't mean to put you on the spot or Jessica make you.
No, I know what you're going with it, and I'm going to say no. I actually would say, quite honestly, no. I don't ever. I think relationships are organic, and especially sexes. I don't think you ever. I've never compared. I've never even thought about comparing. I've never said, "Boy, Lisa liked this." I can't remember what Lisa liked. That's first part, but that's age for me. But no, I wouldn't. That was never even a thought of mine at all, period.
Okay.
Is that definitive?
Yeah, no, I was just curious. There's no right, wrong answer. I was curious about that because again, you've got two women, obviously you're in love with both. One was earlier in your life, one is a little bit later in your life. And I'm wondering if there's any feelings or sense of that things are different or not, or there's something that goes through your head at all. And you've said no. So that answers my inquiry, counselor. So.
Well, and then I guess I want to ask Jessica kind of the same question, which is, do you ever think about like, what was Lisa like, and I'm not just talking about like in the bedroom. I'm just talking about like, do you ever compare kind of think about like, what was Lisa like? Did she cook better than me? Do I cook better than her? Better in bed? Was she, this? Was she that?
Never, which is weird because no one's ever asked me that question, but I've never compared myself to her because all I know of her is that we're very different. I mean, David talks about how she was an Irish Catholic and she was very like, I'm a Jewish girl from Bethesda who, you couldn't be any further from, and David taught me to be less soft when we first met, like with my kids, because I was a pushover. And I think part of that's when you go through divorce, at least my experience was, you feel like you're trying to make up for something. So I've never felt that way at all, ever.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. No, I just wondered like, is that something that maybe somebody would go through, in thinking about, another relationship.
Yeah, I'm sure there are people that go through
Yeah.
that, but we talk about it too. So I think that's a big
Yeah.
difference right there. We communicate about it.
Yeah,
And
that-
David is so different than my last relationship, where I actually compare in my last relationship, it was not a healthy one. So when I got into a healthy relationship where it was like he didn't care if I made scrambled eggs or I had like an amazing meal on the table, he just doesn't care. He's like, as long as we're sitting together and having a meal, I'm happy. If you want to watch your Bravo TV or whatever, or you want to read something, you don't have to watch the new, like David is just so forgiving and understanding. And he's like, you're an adult, live your life. I'm going to love you no matter what, where that was the opposite of what I had been in the first time. What?
You guys, this is totally different, but you guys will appreciate this for maybe your listeners, your followers, your readers. The most freeing part of our relationship is, or was, that we ever did is we shared right off the bat on our phones, our locations.
Oh yeah.
Find my friends where you can see where each other's at.
Sure.
Yeah.
The most, oh my God, the most freeing feeling ever.
Well, but two things. One, my friends thought I was crazy. And I was like, well, what do I have to hide? I had nothing to hide by share. But that was, so I had no issue with that whatsoever. Although I will say that there was an occasion when I would go to the gym, it would show that I was at townhouses and not the gym. And there were a couple of phone calls where David's like, where are you? I'm like, I'm at the gym.
That
But
trip to Las
it's so
Vegas.
incredibly freeing because you find yourself, there's no reason ever really to lie.
There's
And
trust.
a white lie is a lie, right?
Yeah.
So
there's been a lot of
I
trust
find
in
it-
your, so there's been a
yeah.
lot of trust in
So like
relationships.
if I went to Camelot, I could say, Jessica, I'm at Camelot.
I'd be like, why?
Yeah.
Why?
Why, I'll
but
show
the
you
point
one
is-
day. I'll show it to you for free. You don't have to even tip me, right?
No, he should
Yeah,
tip.
but maybe you're going, well, maybe you're going with some friends for drinks or stuff.
Right.
There's other reasons to go, right? You're hanging out with some buddies. But
Right.
the point is that I didn't have to hide it.
I never
Whereas
worry.
in previous relationships, I might have hid that.
Right.
And that was very, very freeing. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, it was incredible.
Yeah. So that, that to me is a sign of health in a relationship. Some of these things that you're talking
Sure.
about and some of the ways that you've answered these questions, which are, we just talk about it. It's never been an issue. And you know what I'm saying? Like, in terms of like predicting how well couples do together, you guys checking a lot of my boxes right now. A lot of my
Sure.
boxes of
You
you're
need to
gonna
look at your checklist real quick.
Okay, let me check. Yeah.
Check it.
Seriously,
Good,
like
I like
I sit with couples and I see families, and I know, what makes families strong and what cracks families, and you guys have a lot of amazing pieces. So this will be your last marriage.
So you've been married, so it's been a year, of which most of that year has, except for the first few months, has been pandemic,
Woo!
right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, except for so you're married a year. We buckled down in March, so you had about 3 or 4 months. So it's probably premature to ask. Have either of you traveled separately, gone out with your girlfriends for the weekend, gone with your, going with your guys to whatever kind of trip you take, Dave? I know I do different stuff. Did any of that happen?
Yeah.
I guess not much.
During COVID?
Or
At
any
all,
time in
period,
your
since
relationship.
you've been married.
Or
Oh,
the
sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I got, so Jessica works from home and
Mhm.
she was working at home prior to COVID all the time. She's used to being at home during the day. That wasn't a big issue. And I'm used to going to work during the day, and I went to work every day because I had to. And
Right.
running restaurants, you kind of have to be in the restaurant for the, to
Sure.
try to keep the survival of it. But then I think I got to day 73 and I was like, I'm checking out. I'm going out of town. I booked a ticket and went to Minnesota to my brother's summer house, and we went fishing and took a 4-day road trip through the Upper Peninsula of Wisconsin and Michigan.
Okay, so
Very
this was
nice.
a boys trip. Boys trip.
Yeah, just with my brother, and we laughed for 4 days. It was the best thing
See,
for
and-
me.
Yeah, so Jessica, how were you with that?
My God, I was so happy. Because, we're home. I used to travel quite a bit for work, like a lot of conventions and just
Mhm.
whatever trips I would do. I definitely did some girls trips, but with everybody home, like literally everybody home, I was thrilled when David's like, I'm going to go take a little trip, because
Yeah.
we had everybody living with us for 4 months during COVID. But even before that, the trust is there. I mean, if we get back to that, I mean,
Mhm.
I don't have any issues if David wants to go travel with his buddies or go out for a night. I went to my girlfriend's and we did a bonfire outside last night. I came home at midnight, which is late for me. And
Mhm.
there's never a phone call, where are you? Because we still follow each other. But it's,
Right.
there's a lot that's there. So
Yeah.
That's
I hope
great.
I
And
answered your
Yeah,
question.
because
Yeah.
we sort of ourselves, we discovered
Yeah.
that pretty early on, or
Mhm.
I did. You started going later.
Yeah.
And we wrote about it in our book, that to us, that's been a really, in a odd way that some people might think a good connecting for
Yeah.
us. 4 or 5 days, she's gone or I'm gone or what. Of course, nobody's gone right now at this point, but I think it's a good thing. That's why I was curious. And again, you guys started your relationship later, so there's a little bit more maturity, right? A little bit more understanding maybe than someone at like we were when we were
Right.
22 or 25 or whatever it was.
Yeah. But for us, being apart has been helpful for our relationship, just like filling your tank with like laughing all,
Yeah.
weekend with your brother, or being out with your girlfriends and being silly or whatever it is. So I think that's great that you guys do that. And again, let's just check it
Check
off.
that
It's
box.
another box that I'm going to check in your favor
Got a
that
lot
you're
of
doing
checks.
that.
Lots
Yeah.
of checks.
Yeah, lots of checks.
Good.
Yeah.
Which boxes have we not checked?
We haven't gotten to them yet.
We
Let's
did,
see.
I don't know if
We're
there.
gonna have to go through the book.
Yeah, I don't
and
know
see
if there's any that you haven't checked, but I think that the major ones you've hit. So I'm pretty impressed and excited for you guys.
So
Really.
what else are you guys curious about? Because it's a tough subject matter. I mean, really the basis of the subject matter is I'm a widower. I lost a spouse.
Yeah.
And I eventually found a great relationship, and I'm living that relationship right now, and it's fantastic. But what's interesting? What else can we bring to the table to help maybe other people that are going through this or have gone through it, I guess?
So, first of all, everybody's different. Everybody's story is different, right? So you're sharing your story and how you did it and how it turned out for you. So, I mean, I just think that, sort of you're modeling how it's gone for you and how it's been for you is helpful for other people to hear. But I think everybody's going to be, different.
Yeah, I mean, for me, listening to you, there's a lot of positivity, right? So I guess what I would ask you in response to that question is, what's been the difficult parts? I mean, you clearly get along great. You sort of connected from the beginning. You understand each other needs your own space. Your kids get along well. What's been the struggle? There's got to be a struggle in there someplace. There's got to be some places that maybe, if not a struggle, then aren't as easy as others. So where's that?
The divorce
where's
attorney
that?
has come in looking for the dirt.
No, it's not the divorce attorney, but I mean, listen, people are going to be, I think, uplifted by listening to you, and Dave particularly, and Jessica, you've been divorced before, you've been through relationships before, you obviously have figured out what works in some cases and what doesn't, and you've learned from those experiences, and Dave, you're coming from a different place that most of us don't come, a lot of us don't come from. So we're hearing lots of warm and fuzzy stuff, right?
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying.
So
So
what I'm
what's
looking
hard?
for is where,
What's been hard?
and if there hasn't been, I'm not looking for you to make it up. Don't get me wrong.
I think there are a couple things. I mean, I still struggle with Lisa's death. And not to offend her, because I feel like it offend her, but I think, and I've said this to numerous people, it's not a surprise, that I think if Lisa and I had continued on a relationship, we would not be married. And so that's the struggle, knowing that in my mind, right? And you guys don't know that, but you know that now.
Wow.
But I still find it I still struggle with the fact that she's not here. Strangely as that might sound, I think that's, and I don't know if it's more for the girls that she's not here, but I still, there's some days that are a little bit more difficult than others where she'll come up for whatever reason. It might rain outside and it just kind of reminded me about something.
Yeah.
So I still struggle with that quite a bit.
How much of
Definitely.
that do you communicate to Jessica, or is Jessica aware of? Or you
She's aware of it. I don't communicate it when it happens all the time. I
Yeah.
just kind of internalize that.
Mhm. So Jessica, what about the part that Dave feels like he probably wouldn't still be married to Lisa?
I think he told me that pretty early on. So, I guess it's with everything that they went through. I mean, trying to get pregnant with the girls, and then unfortunately the illness. I mean, the amount hopefully will never have to go through that, but I can only imagine going through that. That had to have put a lot of strain, even just trying to get pregnant. And I had issues with that myself. So I know what that feels like. So that can put a lot of strain on a relationship. So I don't know that it's when David talks about Lisa, and sometimes it's wonderful. It's never bad things. I shouldn't say that, but when he talks about her personality and how she was, and she's so different from me, I think sometimes I wonder, like, how did you go from here to here?
Mhm.
So I think that that is, I didn't know that I knew early, I knew early on that he said that to me a few times, that, so, I guess it makes sense that he'd be with me because I am so different than
Dave, does
what
that
she was.
do you feel guilty because of that feeling? Does that make you feel guilty, bad, upset with yourself in some fashion? That you
No, I'm not upset with myself. I see parts of Lisa and the girls are quite tremendous. People always say that I see so and so and this person or that person, but I actually see it. Like I'm the only
Yeah.
one who can tell my girls about their mom.
Mhm.
She has sisters and stuff, but I'm the only one that can tell her she liked this music, this song, this artist,
Mhm.
and so I never stop from giving that to the girls or that she'd be proud about it. But I still struggle with the fact that she's not here,
Yeah.
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 Well,
and it never goes away, and
Yeah.
nor should it. It'll never go away. It's all right. But God, who did I read about the other day? Brooks Light and Juliana how do you say her name?
Huff.
The dancer. Hoff. Okay. So he caught out of crap because he was emotional and he cried. And he was a hockey player. And I thought that was so odd to me because I do that all the time. I'm emotional. I think I feel it. I mean, I can't even give a speech without, shedding tears. In fact, I don't know if Jessica knows. It's like before we got married, literally 15 minutes before we got married. So we have a thing that the girls and I do first is that we do dessert first. Can you explain that? We do a thing called dessert first, where anytime there's a major celebration in our household, we do dessert first, because that was the thing Lisa did. So 15 minutes before I got married, I actually had a cake brought into a room, and I brought the girls in. We did dessert first,
Nice.
celebration, and remember, and always good to memorialize somebody that was there with us. That might sound odd to people, but it's the way we do things. It's the way we remember her.
That's nice. That's beautiful.
There's no odd to that.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
That's awesome.
So that's like that. That's pretty important to me. So I don't know if it's feeling guilty about it, but I just don't want to forget about it either.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the day I forget about it, it's going to be that won't happen. It's just not going to happen. And I can't forget about it. So I do struggle with that. And I do get teary eyed about it. Probably vomiting right now with what I'm saying, just going all over the map, but just trying to give you how I feel, I think.
Yeah.
Probably.
No, I think that's really cool. And the fact that you did, that you did that, at your wedding, like you brought Lisa, there, you brought her into your,
She's part of the family.
Yeah, she's part of the
Part of the
family.
family.
You did that in a really cool, unique way.
And the
Yeah.
fact that Jessica doesn't feel upset, threatened, concerned, worried, mad, any of those.
Well,
sort of
she likes dessert first too, right?
No,
Right?
actually, I don't. I don't eat sweets. I wasn't involved in that at all, and I'm
Oh.
not usually involved with that. But that was just, there was a time, I don't know if you remember this, when we met with the rabbi before we got married, and David had brought up maybe mentioning Lisa during the ceremony, and that's the
He said
only
no.
time in our 8 years where I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes me feel right. So
Right.
it
It was
never
fine.
came up again. And I want to be respectful, but I just didn't feel like it was a place or a time where
But you
you
told
know,
him.
I did-
You told him about it. You
Yeah.
expect. I
in
mean,
front of the rabbi.
And
I think.
and we have I actually had Lisa's sister there. We have family members from Lisa's family there at the wedding,
Oh, that's
and we still all talk. I mean, that family's still there. They're still
Yeah.
my family, right?
Yeah.
They don't go away.
Yeah.
I didn't divorce them. I didn't get rid of them. I'm not mad at them. They're still part of our family.
yeah, that's so cool.
Can I say
Yeah,
something?
yeah.
Because David asked, or one of you asked about what we struggle, like what might be something that brings tension, or I would say the hardest thing for us is that, or for me, is that David is a part of my family's business.
Mm.
So David is not just my parents' son-in-law, but he is their employee. And at first it was like church and state. They wanted, we're going to separate this, and you're not going to, but slowly it's kind of bled in. And that can, not that so much it brings us tension, but it is hard for me sometimes to hear like their conversations, or if I feel like, my parents have done something that I don't like in the, and it's not.
Yeah.
But I mean,
It happened.
I never get involved, and it happened recently where I had to call my parents, and I thought about this. Well, if he were working for someone else, would I ever call his boss and say,
No,
"What are
you
you
would
doing?"
not. You wouldn't.
Never.
It's different.
But that is a difficult situation, because in my last relationship, it was not a healthy relationship between my ex-husband and my family, and here they have a wonderful relationship. However, it can be we've lost
Oh,
them.
no, I didn't.
Okay. It can be a struggle, because he is their employee and their son-in-law. So
sure.
here I'm finally in a
It's a
healthy
center.
relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It can
that's
be
a struggle for me personally.
Yeah.
I
That's
think
it.
it's a struggle. For
We
me
could
personally.
probably do a whole talk
Whole
on
different
that.
story on
A whole
that,
talk
yeah.
on that.
Just
Yeah.
tell your mom and dad you're going to sneak over and put a pillow over their head if they're not nice to them, and that's going to be that.
They won't even let me. I'm not supposed to, I can't hug them or anything because of COVID. We're not really,
Yeah.
My parents too. It's, you know what, we want to keep them safe.
awful.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah.
so we just want to wrap it up with you guys and say thank you
Yeah, we
so
really
much
appreciate it.
for just coming and talking to us and spending the time and talking about hard things. Cause I think, you guys are awesome role models for doing that. And we really appreciate all your time and effort. And we want to send you a book. So I'll get your address offline, and you'll get a book from us, whether you read it or not. It's up to you.
Yeah.
Is it a good book?
Yeah, it's a
Uh,
couple's book.
It's a
It's
good
an
book.
awesome book. What are you
It's
talking
it's
about?
our book
You
that we
don't know
wrote.
about it?
Read it a long
Conversations for
time
Couples?
ago.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, yeah.
It's the book we wrote
The
together.
5 conversations for
Yeah.
couples.
Yeah. And we're actually
Don't send it. Buy the book.
writing our second book, and
Yeah.
we may want to use some of your story and some of your issues in that second book. So we'll be in touch and get your permission for that.
You had no issues. Check off all the boxes.
You checked all the boxes.
There might be one or two you didn't check. We'll double back and have you fill those in.
Yeah,
No
but
worries.
thank you guys, really, truly. We so
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. And it's so great to see you guys and talk to you guys and just, get to know you
On
guys.
another note, thank you for doing what you guys do. Because, I pop in every now and then and I do listen, and it's incredible. And I also follow you on different, I guess, on social media. And I think what you provide for people, but when they read it, they get so much from it. And what you guys are doing is pretty spectacular. You have to
Awesome.
give yourself credit too, because it's pretty cool what you guys do.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate that.
Thank you. We like it.
We're trying.
We're trying. We enjoy it, and we're just trying to help people. And that's, and enjoy people. We both really enjoy people. So, and couples. So that's cool. Thank you.
Thank you guys very much for coming, and here's to you.
Yep. Cheers.
Dave, you're the-
Cheers. Thank
Pumpkin
you.
Sunday.
You do have one, okay.
Yeah. Thank you guys so
Empty.
much. And
Don't
Thank
cheers
you.
and empty that.
Yeah.
We'll let you know when it goes up.
yeah.
Okay.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Got it.
Take care.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, guys.